Welcome, restless souls, to Carman's Crypt. I'm Carman, keeper of forgotten tales and curator of nightmares. You've wandered into my domain, where each week I unearth a fresh horror from the depths of human imagination. In these darkened halls, stories wait like hungry shadows. Each tale we've collected whispers of terrors both ancient and new. From crumbling mansions where something skitters behind the walls, to that strange text message you received at 3 a.m. from a number that shouldn't exist. So gather close. The candles are lit, the shadows grow long, and the witching hour is upon us. Are you prepared to face what lurks in the darkest recesses of Carman's Crypt? Lock your doors, still your nerves, and remember, here, every fear comes to life. This is Carman's Crypt. Your sanctuary of scares awaits. David stared at the acceptance letter in his hands, the familiar letterhead of his father's company blurring through his exhaustion. 4 years of business school, and now it was time to come home. Time to learn the family trade that had kept food on their table and sent him through college. Cleaning and restoration, he murmured, reading the business description aloud. Residential and commercial services. It sounded so ordinary, so respectable. Nothing like the stories his college friends told about their father's hedge funds or tech startups. He had always been proud of his parents' work ethic, the way they had built something from nothing. His father often spoke about starting with a single van and a borrowed carpet cleaner, working 18-hour days to establish their reputation. "Clean up other people's messes," Robert always said, "and they'll pay you well for the privilege." The drive back to his hometown took 3 hours, winding through forests that seemed darker than he remembered. The family house sat at the end of a long gravel drive, isolated by acres of pine trees. Mom and Dad were waiting on the porch, their smiles as warm as ever. "There's our college boy." His father, Robert, pulled him into a bear hug that smelled of bleach and something metallic. "Ready to get your hands dirty?" His mother, Patricia, wiped her hands on her apron before embracing him. Her fingers were red and raw, scrubbed clean but somehow still stained around the cuticles. "We've been so busy lately," she said, her eyes bright with an excitement he didn't recognize. "Business is booming." Over dinner, David noticed things he had missed as a child. The way his parents exchanged glances when certain topics came up on the news. How his father's hands, despite constant washing, bore small scars David had never questioned before. The expensive wine they served, far beyond what a small cleaning company should afford. "Remember Mrs. Henderson from down the road?" his mother asked, passing him the roast. "The one with the cheating husband." David nodded. He remembered the Hendersons' messy divorce when he was in high school. It had been the talk of the town. "She hired us for a special cleaning job last month," Patricia continued, and something in her tone made David look up from his plate. "Her problem just disappeared. She was so grateful." That first night, David unpacked in his childhood bedroom while the sounds of his parents working drifted up from the basement. Heavy things being moved, water running, the occasional thump that made the floorboards vibrate. He'd grown up with these sounds, but somehow they seemed different now, more urgent. When he was 10, he had asked his father about the basement noises. "Just work stuff, buddy," Robert had said, ruffling his hair. "Daddy's got to work late sometimes to keep the lights on." The basement door had always been locked. Even now, David noticed, there were 3 different deadbolts on it. "Late client," his father explained at breakfast, dark circles under his eyes, but his mood strangely cheerful. "Emergency cleanup. You know how it is. When people need us, they really need us." David nodded, but something nagged at him. In college, he'd worked summers at a cleanup company. Emergency calls came in during business hours, not at midnight, and they certainly didn't make his boss whistle while he cooked pancakes at dawn. "What kind of emergency?" David asked, trying to sound casual. His father paused, spatula halfway to the plate. "Water damage. Pipe burst in someone's basement. Had to get there before the mold set in." The explanation came too quickly, too practiced. Some messes, you wait too long, they become permanent. The first week of training was straightforward enough. His father showed him the van, loaded with industrial-grade cleaning supplies, plastic sheeting, and tools David didn't recognize. "Every job is different," Robert explained, running his hand over a set of stainless steel implements. "You have to be prepared for anything." David picked up one of the tools, something that looked like surgical scissors, but heavier, sharper. "What's this for?" "Cutting through tough materials," his father said, taking the tool back with perhaps more care than necessary. "Carpet, padding, things that get stuck." "What about the other employees?" David asked, looking around the empty warehouse that served as their base of operations. His parents exchanged a glance. "We work alone," Patricia said. "Our clients value discretion, privacy. Some things are family matters. But don't you need help with the heavy work? Moving furniture, equipment?" Robert smiled, and for a moment, David saw something predatory flash behind his father's eyes. "Son, you'd be amazed what two people can accomplish when they're motivated. And we've had 25 years to perfect our methods." The basement had always been off limits when David was growing up. "Workspace," his father had said. "Dangerous chemicals." Now, as part of his training, David was finally allowed inside. The space was immaculate. Stainless steel tables gleamed under harsh fluorescent lights. Drains dotted the concrete floor, leading to what his father called the processing system. Industrial freezers hummed against one wall. The smell was overwhelming. Bleach so strong it made his eyes water, mixed with something sweet and cloying that reminded him of the meat processing plant he had toured in an agriculture class. "This is where the real work happens," Robert said, pride evident in his voice. "Breaking things down, making problems disappear." David tried to focus on the technical aspects, the efficiency of the drainage system, the organization of tools arranged by size and function, but his mind kept wandering to uncomfortable questions. What kind of cleaning required a bone saw? Why did they need so much lime? One of the freezers was padlocked. When David asked about it, his father's expression darkened slightly. "Long-term storage," he said. "Some projects require extended timelines." The next morning, David found his mother burning papers in the backyard, financial documents by the look of them, client contracts. "Spring cleaning," she said, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Some clients prefer minimal paperwork." David caught sight of one document before it curled into ash. A payment receipt for $50,000 for a residential cleaning job. He had never seen a carpet cleaning bill for more than $500. "Must have been some mess," he commented. His mother's eyes met his, and for a moment he saw something cold and calculating there. "Yes," she said slowly, "a very big mess. But we're specialists. People come to us when conventional cleaning isn't enough." That afternoon, a missing person report played on the local news. Jennifer Walsh, 28, blonde hair, blue eyes, last seen leaving work 3 days ago. David watched his parents' faces carefully. His father turned up the volume. His mother made sympathetic noises about how dangerous the world was becoming. "Terrible thing," Robert said, shaking his head. "Young woman like that. Someone's daughter." He paused, then added almost thoughtfully, "Though I suppose everyone's someone's child, aren't they?" "Do you think they'll find her?" David asked. His parents exchanged one of those looks again. "Sometimes people just disappear," Patricia said softly. "Especially people who get involved in situations they shouldn't. It's amazing how thoroughly someone can vanish when the right people want them gone." The comment stuck with David. There was something in his mother's tone, not sadness exactly, but a strange sort of philosophical detachment, the way someone might discuss a mathematical equation rather than a human tragedy. That night, David couldn't sleep. He found himself standing at his bedroom window, looking down at the backyard where his parents were loading something heavy into their van, something wrapped in plastic sheeting. His mother moved with practiced efficiency, while his father consulted what looked like a map. Emergency call, he told himself. Someone had flooded their basement. Sewage backup, water damage. There were 100 innocent explanations for working at 2 a.m. But the package they loaded was roughly human-sized, and his parents moved like they had done this countless times before. But when he came down for breakfast the next morning, his parents were already there, showered and changed, sharing coffee and what looked suspiciously like satisfaction. His mother was humming, something she only did when she was truly happy. "Successful night?" David asked, trying to keep his voice casual. "Very," his father replied. "Problem solved. Client satisfied. That's what we do, son. We solve problems that other people can't handle." Over the next few weeks, David began to notice patterns. The late-night calls always came after someone new went missing. The news reports seemed to fascinate his parents in a way that felt wrong. And there were the photos. His father kept what he called client files, manila folders filled with photographs. Before and after shots, he explained when David discovered them. Documentation for insurance purposes. But these weren't pictures of flood damage or fire restoration. These were pictures of people. Young people, middle-aged people, men and women with frightened eyes and duct taped across their mouths. Before photos, his father called them. The after photos, David slammed the folders shut before he could see those. But not before he recognized one face. Jennifer Walsh, the missing woman from the news. She was bound to a chair in what looked like their basement. The timestamp on the photo was the day after she went missing. His hands were shaking as he returned the files to his father's desk. This couldn't be what it looked like. There had to be an explanation. His parents were good people. They had raised him to be honest, hardworking, respectful. They volunteered at the church. They donated to charity. But the evidence was mounting. The specialized tools, the basement setup, the missing people, the money, the late-night disappearances. David spent the rest of the day in a daze, mechanically going through the motions of learning the family business while his mind reeled. During dinner, he found himself studying his parents' faces, looking for signs of the monsters he was beginning to suspect they were. They looked the same as always. His mother's gentle laugh when his father told a joke. His father's proud smile when he talked about David's future in the company. These were the people who had read him bedtime stories, who had bandaged his scraped knees, who had cheered at every Little League game. That evening, David confronted them. "I saw the files," he said simply. His parents looked at each other across the dinner table, the same look they'd shared when he'd asked about Santa Claus, when he'd wondered where babies came from, the look that said it was time for another difficult conversation. "We wondered when you'd find those," his mother said gently. She reached across to squeeze his hand with fingers that were always so clean, so carefully scrubbed. "We've been doing this for 25 years, David. Before you were born. It's how we built this life, how we paid for your education." "This is what?" David asked, though he already knew. The knowledge was crystallizing in his mind like ice forming on water, inevitable and terrifying. His father leaned back in his chair. "We eliminate problems for people who can afford our services. Troublesome employees, unfaithful spouses, witnesses to things they shouldn't have seen. We're very good at it, very discreet." "You're talking about murder," David whispered. "We prefer solution implementation," Patricia said with the same tone she had used to correct his grammar as a child. "Murder is what angry people do. What we do is business, professional, clean." David stared at the two people who had raised him, who had taught him right from wrong, who had been the most consistent source of love in his life. They looked exactly the same way they always had. His mother's gentle smile, his father's proud posture. But now he could see something else behind their eyes, something cold and calculating that had always been there, hidden beneath layers of parental affection. "I can't be a part of this," he said. "Of course you can," his father said. "You already are. You've been a part of it your whole life. Every meal you've eaten, every toy you've played with, every tuition payment, it all came from our work. You have a talent for organization, for attention to detail. You'd be perfect for the operational side." "I'll go to the police," David threatened. His mother's expression shifted, just slightly, still loving, but with still underneath. "And tell them what? That your parents are successful business owners who raised you with love and provided you with every opportunity, who taught you the value of hard work and family loyalty? I'll tell them about the basement, the tools, the photos." "What basement?" his father asked mildly. "What tools? What photos, David? You've been under a lot of stress lately. College, job hunting, moving back home. Sometimes stress can make us imagine things." David ran downstairs to his father's office. The filing cabinet was empty. Every photograph, every document, gone. He raced to the basement. The stainless steel tables had been replaced with normal folding tables. The drains were covered with rugs. It looked like any other basement storage area. When he came back upstairs, his parents were waiting with cups of hot chocolate, the kind his mother used to make when he had nightmares as a child. "We understand this is overwhelming," Patricia said. "It's a big decision. But David, we love you. We've always loved you. Everything we've done has been for this family, to build something that could last generations." "You can walk away," his father added. "We won't stop you. But if you do, you walk away from everything. From us, from your inheritance, from the only family you've ever known. And for what? To work some corporate job for people who don't care about you? To struggle for 40 years to build what we've already given you?" David looked around the warm kitchen where he'd eaten thousands of meals, at the family photos lining the walls, birthday parties, graduation, family vacations, a lifetime of love and support. His parents had never raised their voices to him, never missed a school play or soccer game, never failed to listen when he needed to talk. They had built their fortune on death, yes, but they had built his life on love. "Who was the emergency call?" he asked quietly. "The woman from the news, Jennifer Walsh." His mother reached into her purse and pulled out a check, made out to cash, more money than David had ever seen on a single piece of paper. "A cheating wife," she said simply. Her husband wanted a permanent solution to a temporary problem. "We provided it. She was someone's daughter," David said, echoing his father's earlier words. "Yes," his father agreed. "And you're our son. Family comes first, David. It always has." David stared at the check, at his parents' expectant faces, at the life they were offering him. He thought about Jennifer Walsh, about her family searching for her, about the other faces in those photographs. Then he thought about walking away, about starting over with nothing, about losing the only people who had ever truly known and loved him. In that moment, David realized the most terrifying truth of all. He wasn't horrified by what his parents did. He was horrified by how easily he could rationalize it, how quickly he could compartmentalize the violence as just another family business, how natural it felt to prioritize his comfort over the lives of strangers. When he looked up, his decision was written clearly on his face. His mother smiled and slid the check across the table. "Welcome to the family business, sweetheart." 3 months later, David had developed his own system for client management and operational efficiency. His parents were right. He did have a talent for organization. The business had never run more smoothly. When the next missing person report aired on the evening news, David didn't flinch. He simply made notes about scheduling and resource allocation. After all, this was just business. And business, as his father always said, was family. And so, dear listeners, we emerge from another dark corner of Carman's Crypt. But remember, the horrors you've heard tonight are merely echoes of the terrors that await in the shadows of your own mind. If you enjoyed your stay in the crypt, why not invite a friend to join us next week? After all, fear is best when shared. Leave a review if you dare, or share your own tales of terror on my social media. Who knows, your nightmares might just become my next story. Until next time, keep checking under your bed. And remember, in Carman's Crypt, every fear comes alive, and no one is truly safe. Sweet dreams, if you can still sleep at all.